Hey guys, Nicholas here for Man Talk Monday. Today I want to talk about what we need to do when we find ourselves in seasons of hiddenness or desert. And by that I mean you feel like doors aren't opening, you feel like you're not seen, you feel like things aren't happening, maybe even sometimes you don't even feel like you can really tell the presence of God near you. You know, it was interesting, a group of men that I've been running with in a men's Bible study for about over a year now, I was happened to have the pleasure of being with over the weekend, a few weekends ago. And I actually heard one praying over the other, and what he was praying for specifically caught me off guard. And he was praying for seasons of hiddenness and desert season in their lives because, and this was the reason why he said he was praying for it, because it produces fruit, because those are the seasons where God produces fruit in us. Those are the seasons where he gets to deepen us, refine us, mature us, increase our level of trust in him. And so it just pierced my heart when I heard that as something almost like, even though I knew that, of course, in the natural, I knew that, but it was something that pierced my heart spiritually in a way that I couldn't shake because it hit me so hard. And I realized like how many of us can be in those seasons or find ourselves in those seasons where we feel like nothing's happening. You know, our hearts are longing for something more, to step into the fullness of what we were made for, and things aren't happening in the timing that we want or we think God should be moving in, and our hearts get disappointed or hopeless or just bleak in those moments. And what I heard over that man praying over another man about that season of hiddenness or desert was, oh wow, it's the opposite of God being absent in my life in this season that feels hard right now. In fact, it's not only the opposite, it's where God is doing the most work. And my heart just, oh man, I needed that truth. I needed that revelation because I realized in those moments, you know, I had been diligent to say, all right, this is really hard. I don't think I can do this without you, Lord. And I did become more intentional to pull him into my side, to be more intimate, to be more step by step. Every single thing that I did in front of me was like, Lord, I want to do this with you. Let's do it together. I need your grace. I need your strength. And so in those moments of challenge, in those moments of hard, in those moments of even sadness of God, I don't want to do this, I invited him into that space and said, all right, let's do this together. Lord, give me your strength, and give me your perseverance, and give me your grace. And it made all the difference. When it came time to think about what it would look like for that season to end, the questions I began asking are, Lord, would you give me discernment? Meaning understanding of when the time of a season is ending, when it's time to transition out of something, when it's time to lay something down, or even more than that, if I'm in a hard season, recognizing that you still have more to do in this season. It's still more my commitment to you and our walk and intimacy together to see this through. And so it was interesting to me. That's been my heart, is like my prayer has been lately, Lord, and these are questions that I want you guys also to be asking yourselves in the process of those seasons you can find yourself in. God, in any decision I'm about to make, am I shortcutting any process that you want to do within me? Am I missing something? Is this a blind spot that I can't see or hear right now? Is there something that maybe you're still wanting to do as far as deepening or refining or maturing that I can't understand, but your work still isn't finished in me to be able to move into the fullness of the calling of the next season that you have for me to step into? You know, the biggest thing that has been helpful in navigating this, not only in the intimacy, the newfound intimacy I find myself with the Lord and walking this out together with him in, and that's a huge part of it. You know, I had a mentor that said, maybe part of the reason why you're in this is not only just to be deepened or refined or whatever, but also to increase your relationship and intimacy with the Lord, to be walking side by side with each other in a way that the Lord always longs to be walking with us. The other piece is making sure that I'm pulling in community around me to know that I'm making the right choice, to know that I'm not shortcutting the process, not making an emotional or snap or hasty decision, but that it is entrenched in truth and community confirmation and all the pieces that he wants us to walk out. So I just want to say this morning, you know, if you find yourself in that place, I understand the hardship of that. I understand the emotional turmoil of that, but also recognize that it's a great opportunity to be walking more intimately with the Lord, one, and two, to develop the fruit in us to bring us into the fullness, the preparation of what God has for us for the next season, when the time is right for those doors to open, when the time is right for those connections to be made. You know, I've heard Michael Warden say himself that so many people miss stepping into the fullness of the calling, the fullness of what God has for us, simply because they're not willing to trust Him into the unknown, simply because they're not willing to trust Him and jump into the unknown in full trust of what they can't see, what they can't measure, what they can't logic. And it's interesting because, in the Old Testament, God's chosen people, when He goes to take them to the promised land, to me, the very indicator that that was their promised land is because it was impossible. It was impossible without God. And so it, to me, feels like if you can see giants in the land, if you can see what is God has put in your heart, what He's given you the desire of as the fullness of our promises to step into, it's going to require radical trust. The Lord recently shared with me that big impact requires big risk, and that risk requires big trust of the Lord. So when you're in this season, just recognize that He's doing a work. He's not absent. He's not far from you. He's actually doing more in you in this season than in any other season. The second is recognize that trust to step into the fullness of is necessary to step into the fullness or the more of what God has for us. So I encourage you guys. I bless you with that. And with that, have a great week, guys.